Hi, I'm Manoj, lead consultant Identity and Access Management. Today I'm going to show how we can use PAM or Privileged Access Management to achieve zero trust. Privileged Access Management is used to safeguard against privileged users. In today's digital world, organizations cannot afford a large-scale cyber attack. According to a study, it has been found that 80% of these cyber attacks happens using a privileged account. So let's first understand the challenges and the risks associated with privileged accounts. Privileged accounts, you find it everywhere. You find it in database, you find in servers, you find in firewalls, routers, mainframes, Active Directory, and so on. And all these privileged accounts are very powerful. The user can do any activity on these devices. So either he can change a password, or he can install a malware, or he can shut down the system, and so on. And most of the time these privileged accounts are anonymous. Anonymous in the sense these accounts are attached to the system and it is not attached or linked to a user. And these accounts are also shared most of the time between hundreds and thousands of administrators. And since this is shared across many administrators, you hardly get accountability of these anonymous and shared accounts, right? So what are the challenges faced by these privileged accounts, or what are the risks associated? So once this gets compromised, then there is a lot of things which the hacker or the person who gets hold of these privileged account can do. So he can steal confidential data. The data could be a healthcare record or a financial record or credit card information, right? And once this data gets stolen, there is a huge loss of reputation to the organization. They would not be able to meet the compliance. So these are the major risks associated with the privileged users. So let's see how we can use PAM solution to minimize or to reduce this risk. So privileged access management solution, it's a gateway solution which sits between the end devices and the administrators, right? And these administrators, they have to log into PAM first, and then they can access the devices. So this gateway acts as a single point of entry to the target devices. The PAM solution can be integrated with the Active Directory so that you have a single repository of authentication. So the administrators or the users who logs into PAM, they have to first authenticate against Active Directory. You can also have authorization using the Active Directory, so that when the users logs into PAM, they can only see those devices which they are supposed to. And you can configure workflows in this PAM so that whenever they are making a request to these devices, so it goes via a proper approval. And whatever activities these administrators perform on the end devices, it shall be audited and recorded, right? So using this PAM solution, you can achieve zero trust. So once you have a vaulting facility, once you have workflows, once you have proper authentication and authorization, and you have a complete audit trail of the activities of the user, you achieve a zero trust. So let us see how we can use a PAM solution to achieve this. So today I'm going to show you using a PAM solution from CA, which is now Broadcom. You can use either CyberArk or any other tool in the market. More or less the functionality is same across the PAM solution. So let us take an example of a Linux server. I'll show you how we can onboard a Linux device into PAM and how we can configure the workflows and the authentication and all those stuff, right? So to start with, first I'll show you the AD authentication, what I have pre-configured. So I just filled in the AD details here, and that's it. So once I fill AD details here, then I go to the user groups of the AD. I import the user groups so that the user in AD, whenever I make them the member of these groups would be able to log into PAM. So this is how I use the authorization or the security groups of AD. So for this use case, I've taken 4 different AD groups and I'm able to import those AD groups into PAM. So let's start with onboarding the actual device. So I click manage devices here and I click add. Now I'm going to add a Linux server to this PAM, right? So this is the form where I'll fill in the Linux information. You can give any name here. I give a Linux server name. I type the IP address of the Linux server, and then I select the operating system of the Linux device, and I leave the default configurations here. Go to the access methods. I select the type of access I want to use to access this device. I select the SSH. Go to the groups. I add this device to the Linux group. So there are certain groups which I pre-configured. Once I did this, the Linux server gets onboarded to my PAM, right? Now I have to onboard the root account or the privileged account of this Linux server. I type the Linux application or the Linux server information which I filled earlier in this form. Once I type information, it gets auto-populated, and then I just have to type the root account here and enter the password of the root account so that it gets vaulted in the system. I select a password policy, which is nothing but a workflow policy, so that there is a approval required whenever user tries to access this device, right? I just say submit here, and that's it. The root account gets vaulted into the system. I'll just show you the workflow which I used. It's a single level approval workflow which I configured, and you can see here the approver I have configured, I have used is the super admin, which is the default admin which I am using to log in. You can give the reporting manager or anyone you like who can approve, right? So I select the super account here as a approver, and then this is what I do for the workflow configuration. Once this is done, I go back to the AD. I select a sample user to onboard so that this user Prakash, which I have selected, can log into PAM and can access the Linux device using the root account. So I just select Prakash here and I add Prakash to the Linux security group, right? So this was the group which I imported in AD earlier, and once I do this, that's it. The user gets onboarded and the user will now be able to log into PAM. So the user also onboarding I have shown you. Now I'll go and show you the default policy what I have used for this particular device group, right? So I have configured some blacklist commands, and in the filter I can select the blacklist command as the command filter, and in the recording tab I have selected all the recordings which I'll be doing for this particular user, right? And then that's it. So all the configuration is finished. I go back to the PAM login. I type Prakash P. Mehra as the user, and here you can see I select the LDAP authentication because I've configured AD as the authentication. So Prakash will be using LDAP authentication, and he types his AD credential here, and Prakash will be able to log into PAM, right? So this is how I've done the LDAP authentication. You can see here once Prakash logs in, he's only able to see the Linux device, right? He's not able to see any other devices like the Windows server or the database, because this is the policy I attached to this Linux group, so that once Prakash logs in as a Linux admin, he can only see the Linux server here, right? So this is one way of achieving the authorization. I am minimizing the threat, right? So now Prakash, he types or he clicks the SSH here, and then a form comes up. He has to fill in this request form where he will select the date and time on which he wants to have access, right? He has to even enter the justification or the reason here why he wants to access this device, and I will type here that I want to access or check the logs of this server, so hence please approve, right? Once I submit this form, the request will go to the super admin, right? So let me just submit this form, and once I submit this form, I get a message that the request has gone for approval. Now I go back to my previous screen as a super admin login. I'll show you here that the request is pending under the workflow my approvals tab. You see here the request is pending. I'll show you what is the request, from where it has come. Here in this screen you can see that Prakash has access, or he requested access to this device using the root account, right? And you can also see the reason what Prakash has mentioned here, right? So as a super admin, I approve this request, and once I approve, Prakash will now be able to access this device using the root account. I say OK here, and once this request gets approved, I go back to Prakash screen, and I refresh the screen, and I'll show you the pending state is now in a approved state, right? So after it is approved, Prakash will click this SSH. Now he will be able to log into the Linux server. Here I configured a transparent login so that Prakash will not type the root password, and I'm hiding that password from Prakash. So I have vaulted the password of root account so that he doesn't know the password, and I can eliminate the off the shoulder password threat, right? Prakash just clicks on the SSH, and you see that he is auto logged in to the Linux server, and he can type any authorized commands here. He can do any activities, but whenever he tries to type any illegal command, like I did here, I typed kill command, so I was given a warning saying kill is an unauthorized command, right? And I can also configure number of violations. So I have configured here 3 violations. So after 3 violations, my session will be closed. So I'll be auto logged out of this Linux session. So let me type the other unwanted or the blacklisted commands here. I type reboot. Again, I get a warning. I type kill again. Here you can see I got policy violations, right? So the maximum number of policy violations was exceeded, and hence this session would be terminated. So this is how I make sure that even though the user is a legitimate user, even though he requested access and it was approved by someone, he still cannot run certain critical commands, right? So this is how we secure the privileged account from the administrators. Now I'll go back and show in the admin console the audit trail of Prakash, what he has done on this server, right? So here you can see, I'll just open this log. You will see here the audit trail or the accountability of this particular anonymous user called root, right? So the root was used by Prakash on so and so date and time, and it was auto logged in using this root account. So this is how you can see the audit trail of whatever Prakash has done on the system. And also you can go back and check the session recording. You can play the session recording and you can see whatever Prakash has done or performed on the Linux server is video recorded, right? I'll open the session recording and I'll show you whatever Prakash has done on that system. and this session recording is opening. And in this session recording, you see whatever commands Prakash has typed, right? So everything is shown or everything is played on the screen. You can also see on the left side there are 3 unauthorized commands, right? Policy violations in yellow color. That shows that Prakash has typed unwanted commands 3 times, right? In the screen also you can see the kill, the reboot command which I have typed, right? So this is how the video recording can be done and the audit trail can be used, right? So this is everything about PAM. So with that, we come to the end of today's session of PAM. If you have any questions, please leave your comments and do subscribe to our channel. Thank you.